we are doing game, okay. So practice test 68, game 3, which is in section 1. So we are starting with question 11. All right, so if everyone wants to find their way there. Thank you, Ivy. All right, is everyone getting there? So as you're getting there, start reading the problem because we're about to jump into it. All right, I see some thumbs up. Brilliant. So I'll give you a second to read over it, and then I want someone to tell us how they would start diagramming it. All right. Can anyone tell what type of game we're looking at? It's okay if you're not sure. This one's a bit of an odd one. Can anyone think of a
To
way
me,
that...
it kind of looks like a grouping and a combination game, maybe.
Yeah, pretty much. So in that case, how do you think you would set it up? There's probably a couple different ways to set this one up, but what do you think we should do?
Me and you don't set up the games the same, so you could do it.
No, that's okay. How would you set it up? This, like I said, this is one that you could set it up a bunch of different ways. So what do you think?
I would kind of do it where it's like 3 spaces on the side, where
Mm-hmm.
it would be like client, and then I would do like dash, like dot dot, and then the next one I would do like service target.
Mm-hmm. So would you do like, oh, so like IST along the side? And then where would you put like maintenance or website and voicemail?
See, I kind of did I didn't finish writing it out because I didn't get that far, but I did the IST up top, and then I did the C and the voicemail stuff on the side. So kind of how
Okay.
you did your IST, but I don't know if that is like right or if that's how I was going to do it. That's just how I would have started it.
Yeah, no, I think that's the perfect way to start it. It doesn't really matter which one's on the side, which one's on the top, so we can do it however we want. I think both of them make perfect sense. So IST, so those are our clients. And then along the side, we would have the website. Actually, let me make that a little bit further apart. So website and then voicemail. So, and then the numbers that'll go in there, like our options are 3, 2, and 1. Does it make sense to everyone how we got that as our game board? Like I said, it's a bit of an odd game. So if it doesn't quite make sense, please speak up. We can go over it a little bit more. Okay. So, does anyone have any ideas for how to start writing out the rules? Right now. Okay. So looking at the first rule, does anyone have an idea of how to diagram that? So this one, we have another kind of difficult one, right? So this is very similar to the one that we were looking at before we actually began this game. So this says that none of the clients can have a website target that is longer than the voicemail target. So that means that the voicemail target always has to be longer than or equal to the website target. So same type of thing, website is less than or equal to voicemail. So what does that mean for the website? So if I had a voicemail target for I that was 1, what would the website target have to be? If we did that, what would the website target for I have to be, just based on rule 1? Just want to make sure everyone is following. You can put it in the chat if you want. Yeah, 1, exactly. So just based on rule 1, they would both have to be 1 because W has to be less than or equal to V. Perfect. Okay. Rule 2. How could we do rule 2? Does anyone have any ideas? So rule 2 says that I's voicemail target must be shorter than any other voicemail target. So again, we're looking at, we want something like a greater than, less than, right? So I's voicemail, so usually I'd write it like this, IV, and I'm using lowercase for the voicemail and the website, just so I don't mix them up. Usually that's more helpful when we have even more letters, but it works for now. So that has to be shorter than the other voicemail one. So I'm going to specify SV and TV because I don't want to get mixed up. So based on that, how do you think we could set up rule 3? You can type it in the chat, say it out loud, however you want to do it. The rule 3 is very similar. Does anyone see how we could do it? Okay. So rule 3, we're looking at S's website is shorter than TrueVest's website. So SW is less than TW. Okay. Based on all of this, what are some deductions that we can make? Does anyone see any deductions?
The first and the third rule.
Okay. So what do you mean by that?
I don't know. I just see that it's talking about the websites versus the voicemails, and it's saying something about S's website has to be more than T's website. So maybe something about that
Yeah.
is connected. I don't know because I don't really understand this game, but I'm just looking at which.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. Something there is connected. So S's website has to be less than T's website. And T's website has to be less than or equal to T's voicemail. Good, that's true. Okay, so what does this tell us about S's website? Remember, our options are 1, 2, 3, right? So if S's website has to be less than T's website, what do we know about S's website? What could it not be? 3, exactly. So I'm just going to put right there, not 3. Okay, so let's make some similar deductions. What are some other things that we know similarly? Looking at the rules in the same way. Do we know anything about TW? Can't be 1. Brilliant. Yeah. So because TW has to be greater than SW, TW cannot be 1. Okay. Let's see. How about IV? Does anyone know anything about IV? So start to look at rule 2 when we're talking about voicemails. Does anyone know anything about any of those things in rule 2? So IV has to be less than SV and TV. And remember, our options are 1, 2, and 3. So if IV is less than SV and TV, what could IV not be? IV can't be 3, exactly. So we're going to put not 3. Okay, do we know anything about SV and TV? Similar vein, same idea. What do we know about them? Can't be 1, exactly. So SV and TV can't be 1. Very good. All right, does anyone else see anything else that we can deduce? There may or may not be anything else. Okay, we'll leave it there for now. I don't see anything else obvious. So we can leave it there. I'm going to write our numbers up here though, so that they're not in my way. Okay. So we have 1, 2, and 3. All right. So let's move on to question 11. So we have our diagram. Does everyone have the diagram? Does it make sense to everyone? At least sufficiently to move on to the questions? Yes. Okay, I see a yes. Anyone else? Is everyone else following? Thumbs up, yeses, nos. I accept anything. Or nothing. Okay. Aha, another yes. Ah, a no. Okay. If someone is not following, do you want to ask a question? You can put it in the chat. You can ask out loud. I want to make sure that everyone's on the same page before I move on. We can re-explain the question if that's the problem. You can just type it in the chat if you'd like.
I didn't understand the deductions.
Okay. Yeah, so let's go over those one more time. So we're looking at a maintenance company and they're talking about service targets. So their service targets are 1, 2, and 3 days, right? So we're looking at numbers of days. And we're saying, so numbers of days is our targets. So when it says, for example, rule 3 says Salid's website target must be shorter than Truvest's website target. So that means that if Truvest's website target is 2, Salid's needs to be 1 day. It needs to be shorter. If Truvest's website target is 3, Salid's needs to be 1 or 2. It can't be 3 because it has to be shorter. Does that make sense? So the other rules are doing the same thing. So that's how we're getting our deductions. If TW always has to be longer than SW, then SW can never be 3 because there's nothing longer than 3. Our options are 1, 2, or 3. That's all we have. So we can't get something longer than that. So as a result, we're going to say, well, SW cannot be 3. Now the same goes for TW not being 1. There's nothing there's nothing lower than 1 that SW could be. 1 is the lowest option that we have. So TW can't be that because then SW wouldn't have a number. If TW was 1, then we don't have an SW. It doesn't work. So looking at our rules, we wrote them with greater than and less than symbols. So all of them are going this way, which means blank is less than blank. So this one says that W is less than or equal to V. This one says IV is less than SV and TV. And then this one says SW is less than TW. Does that make a little bit more sense? Okay. Let's try to do question 11. So, can someone start me out with question 11? How would someone tackle this question? So question 11 is adding a rule for us. And it says that none of the clients has a voicemail target of 3 days. So I'm going to start by writing that, not 3. What's the next thing I know based on our rules? If V is not 3, do I know anything about W? Try looking at rule 1. If V is not 3, what do I know about W? So if we look at rule 1 says that W always has to be less than or equal to V. So if V can't be 3, can W be 3 if it always has to be less than or equal to V? That's not a rhetorical question. Okay, there we go. No, W can't be 3. W can't be 3 because, again, our options are only 1, 2, and 3. And if V is not 3, W can't be 3 because W has to be less than or equal to it. So not 3. Does that tell us anything about some of these slots? Some of these slots already say something in them. And now we know that nothing's 3. Do we know anything about TW? It looks to me like TW can't be 1, because we deduced that, and it can't be 3. So what does it have to be? Yeah, exactly. So TW, the only option left for it is to be 2. Okay, do we see any others that might be like that? Yeah, same with TV, exactly. So TV also has to be 2. Okay, anything else? SW is 1. Yeah, how do you know that?
Because SW has to be less than TW and TW is 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So SW has to be less than TW. Perfect. So if TW is 2, then SW has to be 1. I think someone said something in the chat about SV. Yeah, so we have the exact same situation with the SV, where it has to be 2, it can't be 1, and it can't be 3. Are there any other ones we can figure out? I see at least one other. Oh, Does anyone know anything about IV?
IV has to be one day.
Yeah, why does it have to be 1?
Because of the second rule, IV is less than SV and TV.
Very good. Yeah, so IV has to be 1. Now, based on the first rule, what does IW have to be? If the W of a certain, oh, go for it.
IW has to be 1.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So rule 1 says that the W of a certain client, so I's W, for example, has to be less than or equal to its V. So if IV is 1, then IW has to be 1 because it has to be less than or equal. So see, the same thing applies throughout. When SV is 2, SW is less than. When TV is 2, TW is equal to. Okay, so then what's the correct answer? We're looking for each of the following must be true except. Okay, B, so explain it. And it's fairly clear from what we're looking at, but why B? So B says that Salid's website is 2 days, and we have Salid's website set at 1 day. And it has to be set there because it has to be less than TW, which is 2. Yeah, exactly, because it has to be 1. We know that for a fact. Perfect. Very good. Does that one make sense to everyone? Do we at least kind of see how we got there? I think this game will start to make more sense as we go. It is a weird game, though. Cool. All right. So moving on from this one, let me erase all of our specialty things. Okay. So we said this cannot be 3. Yeah. All right. So question 12. How should I get started on that question? Does anyone have a guess? So we're adding another rule, and it says that TrueVest's website must be shorter than its voicemail. So what do we know if that's the case? If TrueVest's website is shorter than its voicemail. Okay. Oh, I see something in the chat. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. So TW has to be 2 and TV has to be 3. Very good. Yeah. So TW has to be 2 because it has to be shorter than, according to the rule, or according to the question, has to be shorter than voicemail, and neither of them can be 1. So the only option is for them to be 2 and 3. Very good. Do we learn anything else from that? Does anyone see some other deductions we can get from there? Look at all your rules. Do we know anything about SW? So SW has to be less than TW. And we said that TW has to be 2. So what would SW have to be in this situation? Yeah, exactly. So SW has to be 1 because it has to be less than TW, and TW is 2. Very good. Okay. So we're looking for a must be true. Do we have the answer already? Does anyone see the answer on the options list? E, yeah, exactly. So for the same reason that we just said that SW has to be 1, because it has to be less than TW, which is 2, it must then be true that Salid's website target is 1. Perfect. So we don't have to go any further. We don't have to speculate. We don't have to do anything that isn't clear. All we had to do was say, okay, here are what the rules say, and we can apply them. Very good. All right. Number 13. Did number 12, is everyone following? Okay, yes, no. All right, I want to make sure everyone's following because you guys are a bit quieter tonight, which is totally okay. I just need to make sure everyone's on track. All right. See at least one yes, I will move on. But again, please stop me if you don't understand. Because I can't see all your faces, so I can't see if you're making confused faces. I would stop if I saw confused faces, though. All right. So number 13, if image's website target is 2 days, well, good, it gives us a place to start. So we start with putting in image's website target at 2 days. Then it says which one of the following targets must also be 2 days. So starting with image's website target being 2 days, is there anything, excuse me, is there anything else we can deduce from that? Does anyone see anything? Image's website is 2. Is there anything else that we can figure out? Can anyone figure out anything about oh, there we go. Okay, so SV is 2. Interesting. How do you know that?
Actually, scratch it. I actually meant to write
Ivy.
IV is 2.
Okay,
I meant to
so
write
IV is 2. Yeah, so why is IV 2?
because SV has to be larger than IV.
Yeah. Okay. And then, okay, so we know that W, so IW has to be less than or equal to IV, right? So IV certainly can't be 1. And it can't be 3 because we deduced that a while ago. So it has to be 2. And now you can figure some stuff out about SV and TV. So Diana, I think you were the one speaking. What do we know about SV and TV now? If IV is 2.
Then they would have to be 3.
Yeah, exactly. So rule 2 tells us that they have to be larger than IV. Perfect. Can we figure out anything else? We might not be able to. We might be able to leave it there. Does anyone see anything else? Or alternatively, does anyone? Oh, go for it.
Yeah, I just have a question. Would TV be 3 because of the first rule? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we're looking at rule 2. So IV has to be less than both SV and TV. So if IV is 2, then the only option for both SV and TV is to be 3. Does that make sense? So we're looking at rule 2 here.
Yeah, okay, got it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. Please clarify. I want that. I'm sure that will help others who do not want to speak up, who are also confused. If you're confused, I'm sure someone else is.
Yeah.
All right. So does anyone see the
Question.
answer, or does anyone? Yes, go for it.
I have a question. Could possibly TW have to be? Because after I plugged in the numbers. I mean, when it came to SW and TW, it seems like it's either 2 or 1 for both situations.
Okay.
And because SW seems like it has to be less than TW, I'm assuming it's probably going to be along the lines of 1. I'm just checking to see if I'm in the right track when it comes to that.
Yeah, you're definitely on the right track. So SW can't be 3. We already know that. And it has to be less than TW.
Mm-hmm.
So it is possible that TW is 3. If TW is 3, then S could be 1 or 2. Does that make sense?
Gotcha.
But if TW is 2, then S has to be 1.
Exactly.
So we have a
Go on.
that's the scenario that you were looking at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, TW can be 2 and SW can be 1, but it's not necessary. They don't have to be. So when we're looking at questions that say like must be, we don't want to try to come up with possible scenarios that might work. We want to just stick with the things that we know have to be true. So the 4 that we have marked are the 4 that we know have to be true. The 2 that are unmarked are the ones that you just gave us a couple scenarios for. So that means that we don't want to write them down because we don't know exactly what they have to be. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense. It's just that, I don't know, I'm looking at the fact that it has to be shorter than. No, actually, never mind. I diagrammed it incorrectly. So you're good.
Oh, is it the first rule that you were looking at? Or sorry, not the first one.
No, I just meant that I diagrammed it incorrectly. I accidentally placed the 3s on SW and TW when I actually meant to put it on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did it inverse.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Cool. So does anyone see what the answer is for which one also must be in 2 days? You can just type the letter in the chat if you see it. Yes, exactly.
See?
So
Oh, no, never mind. Are we on question 13 or which question?
we're on question 13.
Okay, never mind.
Do you see where the answer is though? Why don't you go to question 13 and take a peek, make sure you understand it. So the answer here is A, that image's voicemail target must also be 2. So we deduced that a little bit ago, but does that make sense to everyone? Okay. Yes. All right. Question 14. All right. How should I get started on question 14? Does anyone have any ideas? This one seems like a little bit trickier, but again, we just have a new rule added. So I'm going to start by writing out our new rule. So our new rule is that SV is shorter than TW. That's interesting. We also know that SW is shorter than TW. Okay. So now we want to figure out which one of these could be 2 days. So what do we know about if SV and SW are both less than TW? What do we know about TW? This is kind of a tricky deduction, so I want you guys to give it a bit of thought. Look at what we already know. So like things being not 1 or not 3. And then this new little rule. Does anyone see anything that we can figure out about TW? So look at, okay, yeah, so you're getting somewhere. So TW is either 2 or 3. Perfect. So let's give it some thought. If TW was 2, what would SW and SV be? They'd be 1. Wait a second. Does anyone see the problem with that? What's the problem with that?
Is it SV can't be 1?
Yeah, exactly. So if SV can't be 1, that tells us that T can't be 2.
2.
Yeah, exactly. So T can't be 2 because we can't leave SV as 1. So then what's TW?
3.
3.
Yeah, it has to be 3. Very good. So that is what I meant by that is a little bit of a tricky deduction, but perfect. You guys got there. All right. So TW has to be 3. So I think we can eliminate that from our list of could be 2 days on number 14. Okay. So what do we know? If TW is 3, does that help us figure anything else out?
TV is 3 as well.
Yeah. What rule told you that?
Rule number 3.
Rule number 3. Yeah. So we added that to rule number 3. Where did we get it from originally? Do you remember?
Rule number 1.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's in orange. We just put it down there to remind us. Yeah, perfect. So the TW has to be less than or equal to TV, which means that in this situation, TV has to be 3. Okay. Do we know? Was someone else trying to talk? I couldn't quite hear.
Oh no, sorry. I think I had my mic on.
Okay, you're good. All right. So that means that we can eliminate TW, so D, from our list of could be 2 days. We're definitely getting somewhere. Okay. Does anyone else see anything else we can deduce or figure out?
IV is 1.
Okay. How do you know that?
Since SV is 2 on this question, and IV has to be less than 2, has to be less than SV. I put IV.
Okay. Yeah, so how do we know that SV is 2 then? Let's start there. Because we forgot about SV and SW. We didn't put them in. So yes, you're correct, but let's go back to the logic with SV and SW first.
Okay.
Is it perhaps maybe rule number 2 is where she's probably leaning towards, which is
Yes.
IV has to be less than SV.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what she's looking at. Yes. But let's remember we have this added rule here. Let's use this added rule to figure out stuff about SW and SV. And then we can use this rule here and be 100% certain about IV. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Your logic is totally correct. You just skipped a step. Like you did it in your head and didn't write it down, which is fine. Let's write it down so that everyone's following though. So what do we know about SW and SV? One or the other. We might not know everything about both of them. That's okay.
They're either a 1 or a 2.
Yes, they are either a 1 or a 2. What does that tell us about SV?
That SV would most likely be a 2 because IV has to be less than SV.
Okay, there's something else that will tell you that SV has to be a 2, but yes. SV also just can't be 1. We wrote that down. It was because of the IV rule, so yes. But we can also just look at our game board where we wrote down that SV cannot be 1. But yeah, perfect. So SV is 2. Now someone was saying something about IV. I missed which name it was, but why don't you speak up again? Because now is when we want to bring that up.
Oh,
What do
so
we know about IV?
IV is 1.
Yeah, and you know that based on which rule?
The second rule.
The second rule, perfect. What else do we know? Do we know anything about IW?
That would have to be a 1.
Yeah, why? Which rule?
It's rule number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so IW has to be a 1. Can anyone tell me anything about SW?
Could SW be 2 or 1?
Yeah, why do you think that?
Since SV is 2 and from the first rule, W has to be less than or equal to V, so that could be 2 or 1 for SW.
Very good. Yeah. So 2, I'm gonna put them in numerical order because that makes more sense in my brain. So 1 or 2. Exactly. Okay, now we can figure out the answer. So which one of them could be 2 days? So not must be, but which one could be 2 days? C, brilliant. So does everyone see why it's C? That's why we needed that last piece of the puzzle, that S could be 1 or 2. Right? Because it has to be less than or equal to SV, which is 2. So SW could be 2. Perfect, good job. All right, 15. So this says, which one of the following targets cannot be set for more than one of the clients? That's interesting. This is the type of question where it makes our lives a whole lot easier if we have all of our previous diagrams written down. I don't have them all written down on this whiteboard because I do not have that kind of space. But I am hoping that some of you guys might have some of them written down on your pieces of paper or whatever you're taking notes with. So let's start going through. We're looking for which one of the following targets cannot be set for more than one of the clients. So we start with a 1-day website target. Can that be set for more than one? A 1-day website target? We're going to start by just looking at the one that works that we have up on the board. Could we have a 1-day website target for more than one client? Yes, yeah. Because in this situation, we could have a 1-day website target for IW and for SW. Perfect. Okay. We don't really know anything about a 2-day voicemail target based off of this, or a 2-day website target. So we don't really know anything else based off of this diagram that we have. Does anyone else have any other solutions that worked that they could tell us and we could write down? What's another solution that worked? So this is why when we're actually doing the games for the LSAT, we want to make sure that our work is very nicely organized and we can see it super well. So that we can look back for this. Okay, so Diana, you said B. So that B doesn't work, or that B is the correct answer?
No, I'm just saying the two-day voicemail target would work.
Okay,
Yes.
do you have an example of when that would work so that we can write it down and show everyone?
I would say probably number 11, with it being,
Okay.
I think that was the case. Actually, maybe I might be looking at that incorrectly. I'm gonna have to check on that because I'm not entirely certain.
What do you have written down for that one?
I'm looking, so at number 11, I'm looking at, I don't know, I guess I saw it was already mapped out and it dawned to me that it actually can't work. But that's in regards to how it's actually sketched out on number 11, so I wouldn't, like I said, I'll just revisit this and come back to it.
Does number 11, how you have it sketched out, eliminate anything else? Does it show a 2-day voicemail, a 2-day website target, or a 3-day voicemail target, or 3-day website targets being set for more than one client?
Yeah, I honestly can't answer that question right now. Like I need to review this again.
Okay, you're good. All right. Does anyone have a solution written down for some of the previous questions? If not, we can go through each of these. It'll just take a little bit longer. Does anyone have the example that worked from question 13?
Actually, you know what? A 2-day voicemail can work from question number 13 because I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, okay. So can you tell me what the game board looked like for question 13? What did we have?
So the game board looked like Ivy Ivy with 2, IW with 2, SV with 2/1, SW with 3, T with 2 or 1. I mean TV with 2 or 1, and TW with 3.
Okay, this is 3. Okay. Oh, this can eliminate some things, can't it? So, do we have more than one client with a 2-day voicemail target based on this example?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, wait a second. I think this might be reversed. Because W has to be less than or equal to V. And that's not the case here. Okay. Let's revisit some of these. So let's start with the possibility of having a multiple 2-day voicemail targets. So which ones would those have to be if we had 2-day voicemail targets? They would have to be S and T because IV would have to be less than that. So S and T, IV would have to be 1. Okay, what does that tell us about IW? What would IW have to be?
Perhaps
Based
1.
on, yeah, so 1. Do we know anything about SW and TW? What would those have to be?
So SW, I mean, because you mentioned SW can't be a 3, so it would have to be a 1 in this situation because TW would have to be larger than SW.
Yeah, very good. And then TW would have to be a 2 because W has to be less than or equal to V. So now we have multiple 2-day voicemail targets, SV and TV. So we're going to eliminate B. Okay, let's try to make another one true. So we want multiple 2-day website targets. So for multiple 2-day website targets, which 2 would they have to be, or which 2 should they be? So they could be IW and SW, or they could be TW and IW. Because SW always has to be less than TW. So I think I'm going to put it as SW and IW. So then TW is 3, which makes TV also 3. IV, because it can't be 3, has to be 2. And SV has to be greater than IV, so it has to be 3. So there's another solution that works, and that eliminates, so we can have multiple 2-day website targets. And look, we can have multiple 3-day voicemail targets. So what's our correct answer that can't be set for more than one client? Does everyone see it? So E, a 3-day website target, cannot be set for more than one client. Does that make sense to everyone how we got there? So in this situation, it will make your life so much easier to have the previous examples all nice and organized. I think this is the last question, so let's try to get through it super quickly. So it says, if none of the clients has a website target of 2 days, which of the following could be true? Interesting. So no one has a website target of 2 days. So what do we know? Start with SW and TW. What do we know about them? If no one is 2, what is SW?
SW is 1,
Yeah, and what's TW?
3.
3. Okay, what's TV?
It would be 3.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, do we know anything else as far as you can tell?
SV would be 3.
So SV, is there a reason that it couldn't be 2 that we know of?
Because of the condition, the rule, if none of the
Yeah.
clients like
So that
targeted.
one's only about websites.
Oh,
That
wow.
almost got me too, though. I was thinking we were just going to deal with 1s and 3s for a second there. So this is just talking about not having a website target of 2. So we don't actually know much about SV. Other than we know it's not 1 because IV has to be less than that. So let's look at our options of could be true. Could it be true that I's website is shorter than Salid's website? So if Salid's website is 1, could I's website target be shorter than that?
No.
No.
Nope. So A is out. B says Salid's website target is shorter than I's. I mean, that's the opposite. That seems like it might be possible. So we'd leave that. Salid's voicemail target is shorter than TrueVest's. we thought that might be true. So we'd leave that one as well. Okay. TrueVest's website target is shorter than images. Is that possible? If TrueVest is 3, is it possible for that to be shorter than images?
No.
Nope. All right, D's out. TrueVest's voicemail is shorter than Salid's. If TrueVest's voicemail is 3, is it possible for it to be shorter than Salid's?
No.
Nope. Okay, we're left with B and C. Can anyone think of a way to figure it out? We're just looking for could be true. So B says Salid's website target is shorter than images. So can images website target be 2 or 3? It really seems like it. So let's say it's 2. Well, if it's 2, then that means that IV also has to be 2, and SV has to be 3. So we've come up with a situation where Salid's website target is shorter than images, but Salid's voicemail target is not shorter than TrueVest. We don't have enough time to check it, so we'd just go with B. We came up with a solution where B works. That's sufficient evidence. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, sorry we went a couple minutes over. Great job, everyone, and I will see you guys next week, okay?